NLP, and I work at Microsoft e-research center before as a researcher and also a lead developer. And I head and chair a couple of government initiatives, like Mr. Chairman said, right, mainly in Asia, like Malaysia, Singapore, and also Oceania. So I was living in Queensland before. So I work very closely with Queensland government, Queensland, Australia, and also MOE, Ministry of Education expert panelist for university program accreditation. So I do a lot of work in terms of training people and helping the countries to grow more data scientists and attracting younger talents to join this exciting field. So I'm going to give you a little bit of journey regarding the background and the main reason why I built CoronaTracker, and also how it has been coming from a small project and turns out and scale and become a large project. And that's when I realized that it's a realization of a framework with real world implementation. Now, a lot of times when we were doing research, we were having problems commercialize it, right? But this time around, not only I managed to build a product, I managed to implement it, and also I managed to submit a paper to World Health Organization, WHO. So for people who are familiar with Chinese culture, we have this reunion dinner, meaning that the first year, the night before New Year Eve, the night before Chinese New Year, we all gather around, and then we have this signature dish called during our reunion dinner. So when I was having my reunion dinner on the 25th of January, a lot of my friends, they started to share articles with me, and they say, Dr. Han, look at this, right? This is something that's very they were curious about it, because a lot of them were my Aussie friends or my Australian friends, and they look at it, it's like people are talking about this new type of virus called the Wuhan virus, and they were so happened that my name has a Han inside, right? So they were like, hey, what does it got anything to do, like you know much about the Wuhan virus? Obviously at that time we didn't know much about it. In fact, until today we still have very limited understandings regarding the COVID-19. So I went on and did my research, and my friends say there isn't too many things that you can find apart from this website from Johns Hopkins University that keep tracks of some of the statistics that tell you that, look, the numbers are quite scary. And in fact, Malaysia and Singapore were one of the first few countries in Southeast Asia that have detected positive cases, although it was imported from other countries, but that's where we get started. So we become very concerned. So I went to this dashboard, and then I look at it from a data science point of view, or from an academic point of view. Is that it's good, but it's just a map, right? And the information that it provides is very high level, and um, I can't tell too much of the information that I want from this map. So there are a lot of things that I wish that can be better with the JHU map. So the first thing is, like I mentioned earlier, information presented was just too high level. So when we were doing this, I found that a lot of the information that presented are just on the country level. Apart from China, right? There isn't too much of the information that's related. And also, if we look at other regions like Africa or Europe countries, for example, there are not so many information about it. So I thought there's something that we should do. And when I dig further, I wanted to look for data from that. Apart from WHO and CDC are publishing the official data, there's basically nowhere else that we can get more information about it. And as a data scientist, of course, you know, we live on data, so we want to crunch data and we want to process as much data as we can. And last but not least, from an information retrieval point of view, we are unable to keep track of story development. So I want to go in Asia countries, right? Well, everywhere in the world, but Asia countries, we have this spreading fake news culture among the senior citizens. Let me explain a little bit. Yeah. So a lot of our parents, like, you know, my dad, my mom, my relatives, uncles, aunties, they love to share whatever they get from WhatsApp group, right? They receive the information from WhatsApp, or they see somebody posted something on Facebook, and they will just share without thinking too much about it or without verifying it. And therefore it makes us very difficult to keep track of the story development, because when you want to look for information and want to do some research, you realize that, hey, you know, there are a lot of noises out there from an IR point of view. So what do we do when we are not happy with something? Yeah, we go ahead and fix it. And that's what motivates me to build this particular product. And in this tech startup sense, we call it the MVP, the minimum viable product. So we went ahead and spent 36 hours to build this minimum viable product. And basically, this is to help us to tackle a couple of issues. Number one is, I want the information, I want to be able to access information at a very detailed level. So I want to be able to select the countries and be able to tell at each country level what are the number of confirmed cases, recovered cases, and death cases. And secondly, I want to be able to keep track of historical data. Now, if you go to JHU websites itself, they do not publish the data, they publish it afterwards using their GitHub, right? So when you are looking at GitHub and their updating or the speed of update is not as real time as we expected. Now, at the beginning, it was fine because we don't have that many cases yet. But as time goes by, we realize that, you know, we really need to have a lot more updated information, and also it involves a lot of countries. And last but not least is news articles for the following story development. And this is the very first version that we built, and we slowly attract the attention of developers and also researchers, medical doctors around the world. And everybody contributes their effort, and this is what it is today. So it took us about 2 to 3 weeks to revamp the entire site. So this is the latest version of CoronaTracker. And not only we have the statistics for every single country, so each of the 195 countries in the world, they have their own dedicated link. So you can go to www.coronatracker.com/country/ for example, Singapore, Philippines, and you will have access to all the information about the country. And not only that, we have turned this into an open API. So if you go to api.coronatracker.com, you can query all the data directly from our data sources. And we have expanded to different languages, as you can see here: Chinese, Japanese, Indonesian, Vietnamese, Thai, Korean, Italian, and a lot of other languages as well. So we want to make sure that everybody, we cover as many people as we can around the world. So today, CoronaTracker has grown into one of the top 3 most popular coronavirus tracking portal. So JHU, Worldmeters, and CoronaTracker. We have almost, this is last week's statistics, so we have close to 5 million users right now and serve about 30 million pages by now. And some of the major countries where our visitors come from, if you can see, right, the top one is Egypt. So you might be wondering, like, why is that Egypt? So countries like Egypt, Romania, Bulgaria, and some of the West Africa countries are actually using CoronaTracker as one of their primary data source, and they use it to compare with their government or Ministry of Health information, and also from there they do their own analysis. So by judging at the situation and the spread around their neighboring countries, and they can make a much better comparison. And we also make it to publish our paper at Bulletin of WHO. So I believe, if I remember correctly, this is a H1 publication. So yeah, we talk about worldwide COVID-19 outbreak data analysis and prediction. And that's the main reason why I did not talk too much about the academic side and the the framework, the design of the framework, for example, and also some of the modeling that we have done, because you can just download it here, and it's very easy to read and understand. It's written for laymen. But you can really see that how serious we are when we are dealing with this research, and you can look at the number of people that have involved in this paper. So we do outbreak predictions, and also using the popular models SIIRH, SIIRH, and also sentiment analysis. So the workflow that we adopt here instead of using the traditional crisp DM workflow, this is the framework. This was the framework that we used in the past, where we were involved a lot in data mining. So people spend a lot of time trying to understand the data, trying to understand the business requirements as well. So this is the traditional framework that we use. But because this COVID-19 is a very serious issue and we want to make it faster, so we adopt a much leaner and agile process that's called Awesome Framework. So it allows us to obtain data, scrub the data, explore data, model the data, interpret the data. And we managed to attract a lot of data scientists and data science professionals to join us. In particularly, the heavy lifting part is already done by our data engineers. So we have already gathered the data from the data sources around the world, and we managed to clean them in the machine readable format and publish the data. So they can come in and just focus on exploring the data, modeling the data, and take it to the next level of research. And finally, if you are just a data analyst, for example, you can just take the process results and build your own visualizations dashboard as well. So a lot of the governments, not just like Malaysia and Singapore, but around the world, they actually, and you can see that a lot of people are trying to build similar dashboard and map views, right? And yeah, most of them, they get data from us instead of crawling it their own. So I would like to share a couple of lessons that I learned here. So as academics, as a researchers, and also as someone who are pretty involved and active in the startup scene, people always like to say that, move fast and break things, right? That's because, to a certain extent, I agree, because information travels faster than viruses. So if we are able to make sure that we move at a faster speed than the virus, I'm pretty sure that we are able to win the battle and kill the virus as at the earliest point of time. But because there's so many people that are relying on our platform, so we can't afford to break things. So I would say the first thing that we learn is move fast, but don't break things. If you notice, right, there are a couple of instances that other dashboards, where be it Wormeters or be it GHUs, they have missing data, they have misreporting data. We have that moment too, and we have the moment that our servers crash as well. So that's the time where we realize that we really, really have to be very careful and don't break things, make sure that it's scalable. Otherwise, a lot of people will be suffering and making wrong judgment or wrong decisions because of our mistake. And the second thing is gather the right people before gathering the requirements. A lot of times when we are doing our research, we spend a lot of time on analyzing the problems, trying to find where's the novelty, spending a lot of time crafting the proposals, get the approval from PhD supervisors. Like if you are working in a corporate environment or you're doing industry research, then you have to spend 6 months to apply for grants and then to wait for the approval, right? And to me, it's about gathering the people before the requirements, because we were lucky. We get sponsorships from Amazon. We get sponsorship from Microsoft as well. So computing power wasn't too much of an issue since the beginning until today. And of course, because we are doing something that is right and also something that's beneficial for the mankind. So gather the right people before the requirements, talk to as many people as I can, and build a platform and attract the right talent. So there's another lesson that I learned. And these are some of the heroes behind the CoronaTracker. We have an international team. We have people from India, Australia, Thailand, Philippines, and of course, Malaysia and Singapore. So we do have people who are handling data science, people who are handling the full stack engineering, and also we are kind of a startup, so we do have product managers and also people who handle our PR as well. And last but not least, if I were to give advice, right, start small, think big, and scale fast. A lot of time when we are doing something, I believe that academics researchers probably don't have this issue. We when we start, we usually start small enough because we want to find a novelty. We want to push that little bit out of our comfort zone and make the progress. But when it comes to research commercializations, and when it comes to making impacts to people, to deliver real world impacts and values to people around the world, I believe what we do need to do is to think big. Yeah, think about something, whether this can be applied to a larger number of people, to a bigger crowd. And just like what we did, right? We went to WHO, and then we really built a platform that everybody in the world will be using and is happily using it. And of course, scale fast. One of the mistakes that I learned from this project is that I did not think about globalizations earlier on. So I always mix up between localizations and globalization. So in other words, I only think of the common things like localized into, for example, like Chinese language, English language, and then some European languages. And I neglected a lot of dialects from the Philippines and India as well. So I really have to admit that's my mistake. And in fact, globalizations means localizations, right? If you want to reach every single place in the world, you have to be able to localize the information for people to be able to consume. So a little bit on advertising. So what's next of this CoronaTracker? A lot of people ask me what is my plan, right? Next, we are going to work on this project called COVID-19AI.org. So we're going to attract AI researchers, talents from not just data scientists and machine learning engineers, because there are a lot of virologists, there are a lot of epidemiologists. They were saying that you guys don't know anything about virus, you guys don't know anything about the spread of the virus, so stop taking the data, plot some charts, and then start to write things about it and start to tell a lot of stories from that. That's wrong. So I would like to take this opportunity to invite those virologists and medical doctors to work with us to help each other in using data and artificial intelligence to combat the virus at the large scale. And this one is more of the government initiatives as well. We want to help people in terms of post-trauma, after the lockdown, after the movement restriction, what are they going to do? Because in the developing countries, there are a lot of developing countries in Southeast Asia. Most of us are, right? Malaysian, Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia. So these are the countries that really need to pay attention about how people are going to respond and react after the virus, after the pandemic, and not just about what are we going to do now, because what we are going to do right now is really a challenge on the healthcare systems, but after the pandemic is going to pose a real challenge and a lot of burden, stress, and pressure on our welfare and entire society. So this is the open data and data lake we're working on with, this time around we're working with Microsoft. So we already got their sponsorships and we're now finalizing the entire deal, and then we'll probably launch it within this week. Yeah. So yeah, just nice. Thank you very much to everyone who are here to listen to my talk, and of course to my dear team from around the world who has contributed to CoronaTracker project. Without them, I won't be here speaking to everybody. Thank you, and Francisco, if we are allowed to answer any questions.
Yes, of course. Thank you